300 square miles of wilderness in the heart of Africa. This animal kingdom is home to a stunning array of wildlife. I'm Steve Leonard, and I'm here at the Orendi Game Reserve in Namibia, following the incredible story of a place that's been given back to its wild animals. This week, there's a much-needed croc relocation, as 5 of these formidable predators are released into one of the park's largest waterholes. And a newly introduced bull elephant gets too close for comfort.
Okay, get into the vehicle. Please be quiet, do not move.
In this series, I'm exploring a new African wilderness and its inhabitants. Here in the central highlands of Namibia, a huge area of bush is home to a groundbreaking project. Back in 2007, Orendi's landowners took a huge gamble. After decades of cattle farming and hunting, they decided to return the land to the wild and brought in wildlife experts to realise their vision of a haven for animals, funded by tourism. Elephants were one of the earliest species to be reintroduced here because they clear the bush and create the grasslands necessary for the other game animals. When there were only cattle here and a handful of antelope species, they were really good at keeping the grass down, but that allowed all these trees and shrubs to really overgrow. And that's why we need the elephants, because look what they do to these shrubs. Because they like the taste of the bark, they strip it off the trees and cause them to die away. And this means that you get greater areas of grassland, which is better for the grazers and better for the predators that feed upon them. So they're sort of using the elephants as landscape gardeners. At the moment, the reserve is home to just 14 elephants that live on its southern edge, close to park headquarters. There's a breeding herd of females and young calves, and 4 young bulls living in a bachelor herd. And that's where the trouble lies. Without older bulls to manage them, these youngsters are hard to control. And in a park like this, which also welcomes tourists, it's important that they tolerate humans. But Stompy, a bull elephant born with only 1 tusk, and his friend Tui are refusing to cooperate. The boys are unpredictable and often charge vehicles, so the park guides need to watch them closely. I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing Stompy. I know he's naughty and all that, but he's a real character because of that. The fact that he's so demonstrative, he so wants to be the boss. But I'm also aware that if he continues in this vein, it's just going to make life difficult here for everybody, for him, for the staff here, so it's important that he does calm down and gets used to vehicles. Elephant tracker Rodney Hall is one of the team responsible for these notorious elephants. Stompy's around 20 years old and has reached sexual maturity, but he's still an adolescent in elephant years. Rodney must be careful he's not in musth, a condition thought to be related to mating, where increased testosterone levels can make elephants extremely aggressive to ward off rival males.
Stumpy's still in must. You see the trunk is going up. He's testing the air. Right. So I can almost tell you for sure he's still in must.
Okay.
Okay. What he's doing now, he's analyzing. He's trying to get our direction. And he's smelling. I just want to get some eyes.
Yes, do. Yeah. Yeah. He's waving his ears. Yeah. Stompy's soon joined by the other young buck, Tui. He's flaring his ears. Here he comes. Being so close to these bulls, we have to be alert to the slightest sign of danger. They're wily old creatures, aren't they? They know what they're doing. But while we're looking at Stompy, another young bull has crept up behind us. Suddenly, there's a standoff.
Okay, get into the vehicle.
When a 10-foot-high, 3-ton bull is squaring up to you, it's no joke, even when you're in a vehicle.
Yeah, please be quiet, do not move. Okay. Shh, just be very quiet. Just check him. Not more than that. If he comes that side, he has to move inside, eh? Yeah. Okay, move inside. Inside. Aye.
In the wild, a bull elephant will charge if it feels threatened. They've been known to kill rhinos, other elephants, and humans. Our safety depends on Rodney's expertise in reading these elephants' behaviour.
He's calling them all together. I'm gonna give a 50-meter space.
Rodney knows these animals extremely well, and by moving back, he diffuses the tension. With us out of range, this cheeky bull turns his attention to Tui, the bull with 2 tusks. Tui's quite a young bull.
Yeah, he's a little bit younger, yeah.
The 2 adolescents start to play spar, a great preparation for future dominance battles.
They're not aggressive, they're just testing each other's strength. Yeah, I can see him. Now he's relaxed, he's feeding.
After a few minutes, the youngsters settle down and it's safe for us to leave. From now on, the bulls will receive daily visits from Rodney in an effort to habituate them to the vehicles and ensure the safety of the park's guides and visitors. Over the coming years, several hundred more elephants will be introduced to help landscape the reserve and support the grassland animals. One of the most important habitats in the reserve are its waterholes. There are 8 in total, 3 of which are home to several hundred of Africa's most feared predators. Not far from the elephants, at the park's headquarters, 5 large crocodiles are in a holding pool awaiting relocation to one of the waterholes. There was a time when crocs like these were endangered in Namibia due to hunting and loss of habitat. But numbers are now on the rise, and these lucky individuals are about to be given a permanent new home. Game manager Ruan Clerter lets me join his release team.
I think the most important thing is we must be careful not to slip into the water because it's quite steep. We must remember it is a wild animal and it will grab you if it gets the chance.
Okay. As a vet, I deal with all sorts of animals and offered the opportunity to get hands-on with these 2-metre crocs. I can't resist the challenge. thing you've got to remember about crocs is you don't get tame ones. You cannot habituate these animals to being handled at all. So as soon as we start trying to do anything with these things, you'll get a sense of just how strong they are. There's no easy way to catch over 100 kilos of crocodile. As I approach, the crocs submerge themselves. I need to get the noose on the end of a long pole around the jaws of the first crocodile. But the crocs are having none of it. Finally, the moment when I find out just how strong these crocs are. It's now a matter of brute force to haul it out. As we pull the croc from the water, it twists and rolls as if it were tearing the flesh from a prey animal. Using a metal bar to secure its powerful head and jaws, we begin to get it under control. These animals are so tough that this won't harm it at all. Even though it's only 2 meters long, it takes half a dozen men to subdue it, and we have to cover its eyes to calm it down. This insulation tape will be more than strong enough to keep his mouth closed, because although he has got incredibly strong muscles for closing his jaw, there's only 2 small muscles that open it, and you can easily beat those with some tape. Okay?
All right, you can tie the legs for us now.
Just because he's going to go into the back of the truck, we don't want him walking about, so by hobbling him like this, we can ensure that he goes nowhere. Okay? It all looks very stressful for them, but it's only for a short period of time. And where they're going out into one of the big dams is going to be far better than the small crocodile pool they've been in. 1 down, 4 to go. This relocation is an important move. In its new home, this croc will play a vital role in keeping the natural balance between predator and prey. Surviving 60 or 70 years, there'll be no need to restock anytime soon, but the team will keep watch for signs of successful breeding. Here in Namibia, I've been given a unique opportunity to see firsthand what it takes to restore an African wilderness. And it's a chance to get close to some of the most amazing animals on Earth. But this is no wildlife safari. Some of the work here is very hands-on. Having captured 5 2-meter crocs from a holding pen, it's time to relocate them.
All right.
The waterhole that will be the crocs' new home is the largest on the reserve, located in the very heart of the park. We've brought a large team, as releasing these crocs is just as dangerous as catching them. It takes 8 of us to lift this powerful creature. It's solid muscle, and at first, it catches me by surprise.
Okay.
Finally, I get it under control, and we carefully untie its jaws.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, big fella. Although it may look calm, the croc's growl tells me that it's extremely angry. But I can't resist taking the risk of getting a closer look. If you look into the back of his mouth, you can see that he's using muscles to actually close off his throat. And this is how they can actually attack prey underwater without actually inhaling or ingesting a huge amount of water. It's quite neat, isn't it? Doesn't quite look real. With 5 crocs to relocate, it's a long afternoon. Each one is a real challenge. Okay, ready?
Yes. All right, well done.
If they can see what they're doing, they see where the threat's coming from, they will swing that head. And believe me, it's solid bone. 3, 2, 1, go. After a few hours, the final croc is released. He's a very instinctive animal, so if we want him to turn towards the water, he'll turn towards the threat. So the side that you touch him on, come on, pup, that's it. So there we go. So now he's facing the water. We can relax and let him go now. There we go. With a little help to point it in the right direction, the croc heads towards its new home. These predators are a vital part of a complex food chain with a diet of fish, birds and small game animals. By releasing them here, the team are taking another small step towards restoring the natural balance in the reserve. That's great. That's a really good result. Hopefully they'll go off now and make lots of little croc babies. As darkness falls, the waterholes spring to life. Night is an incredible time to observe wildlife, because along with the resident crocs and the hippos, most of the park's other animals can be found at the water's edge. Elephants are nightly visitors. An adult will consume over 100 litres of water after spending its day foraging for food. And as the elephants arrive with their young calves in tow, the hippos leave the water to graze on dry land. Because hippos have sensitive skin that burns in the sun, they must eat during the cool night, and they'll feast on more than 45 kilos of grass before returning at daybreak. With most of the park's game animals concentrated around the water, they're a magnet for predators like the big cats. Nocturnal hunters like lions take advantage of the darkness to stalk abundant prey species like oryx and springbok. But they don't have everything their own way. In the pitch dark, our night vision cameras capture a remarkable moment as an elephant sees off a couple of lions. Against this large adult, the 2 lions stand no chance. It's fantastic to witness this natural behaviour, a hopeful sign that these introduced species are settling in. But while the place doesn't sleep, tonight, neither do we. A wild croc has found its way into the camp, and my newfound croc-catching skills are called on once again. There's a croc wandered out of the pool, and it's now knocking around the office, so not the best, really, for people walking around at night. Even a croc this size could cause someone serious damage. We need to catch it as soon as possible. Even though it's small, this croc's jaws are powerful, and I need to keep my wits about me. That's it. He can't come forward while I've got his tail, obviously. That's it. Let him roll, let him roll. With a helping hand from some of the park's guides, we get it under control. Let's tie his mouth. That's the only thing he's going to hurt us with. So let's just wrap that round him. Make sure his nostrils are clear. There we go. That's fine. Close to park headquarters, we release the rogue croc back into his waterhole and leave him to join the others on the right side of the fence. Somebody hang on to the end of that strap. Hopefully, it won't find its way back to camp again. I'm going to actually give him a bit of a shove as well, GP. Okay, you all good there? Yes. 3, 2, 1. There we go. That's where he wants to be. Pest control. Always wanted to do it. Always. That's some rat. It's been a really exciting first few days here in Namibia. Seeing the changes the team are trying to bring about and the problems they face. This is only the start, but what they're doing here will transform Orendi Reserve forever. This vast wilderness in Namibia's central highlands is home to some of Africa's iconic animals. But this special place hasn't always been a haven for wildlife. Years of cattle ranching and hunting once decimated the numbers of native African animals. I'm Steve Leonard, and I'm here at the Orendi Game Reserve to follow the incredible story of a place that's being returned to the wild. This week, my vet skills are put to the test when we encounter a brown hyena.
We try and obviously do an incision as small as possible.
So this is the implant, and I go in search of the reserve's rarest mammal, the black rhino. It's early morning at the Orendi Reserve. A great time to watch the park's wild inhabitants. But there's one elusive creature who's top of the list of animals I'd like to see. A mysterious adult male leopard called Houdini, who has made one of his rare appearances around the reserve. Houdini was spotted on the western edge of the park, where he dominates several female leopard territories. So leopard expert Natasha Dvorinin and I have baited a trap in the hope that we might catch him. If Natasha can collar him, then we'll be able to learn more about Houdini's secret life. We set a number of night vision cameras to record events after dark. That night, the black-backed jackal is first on the scene. He's picked up the scent of the rotting meat. This inquisitive scavenger feeds on carrion and often follows larger predators looking for scraps of food. Sure enough, a spotted hyena appears, but it doesn't take our bait. Then a glimpse of a more unusual animal. A nocturnal cat-like predator called a genet that stops by to check out the trap. Finally, the visitor we've been waiting for. A leopard emerges from the darkness. It's not Houdini, and it's already been collared. Possibly sensing the trap, nothing takes the bait, and when we leave, the trap still stands empty. By first light, it's a different story. In the early hours, the trap was triggered, and I've teamed up with an old friend and park vet, Doe Grobler. Do you want this tailgate up? It's not a male leopard, but it is an animal that we want to follow, so Doe the vet's here to put an implant inside it. I've never seen a brown hyena before. They're not across the whole of Africa, are they?
I mean, they occur in the harshest of places, like along the skeleton coast here in Namibia, where they just live off virtually anything they can find. I guess it weighs about 50 kilograms, 40 to 50 kilograms.
That's a big animal. It's a kind of Rottweiler, sort of big Rottweiler size. Fitting the hyena with a radio tracking implant will give Natasha and the other guides their first real chance to study the life of this shy species.
It's always exciting. I know that we're not looking at a leopard, but I think by following this female, we're going to learn a huge amount, not only about brown hyenas, but the relationship between the different species.
But first, we have to sedate it. The safest way is to deliver the dose of sedative in a dart using a low-powered air rifle. This is an extremely aggressive animal that could damage itself against the cage, so we need to be quick.
This is the most stressful time for the animals, so I want to move in, do the dart.
Yes,
Because this is the only time that they would actually really start biting things and so on.
Yes, potentially damage
We
teeth.
really, so we want them out as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. It's a perfect shot. It's very impressive when you see somebody that skilled do a job like this. You know, in a situation like this, when you've got a potentially very stressed animal, you need somebody who can get in there and get the job done very quickly. It will take about 5-10 minutes for him to really settle down, but you can already see he's getting a little bit wobbly on his feet. And then pretty soon he'll just lie down and go to sleep. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the sedative to take effect. Doe and I set up a makeshift field hospital on the back of the Jeep. Although the procedure is straightforward, this is a million miles away from my normal life working with cats and dogs in Shropshire.
She's nice and stable, so we can work on her. I don't think she'll give us a problem.
Good. All these drugs I remember from my farm animal days. This is a sort of combined wormer parasite treatment. It's a sort of a payoff for the help that she's given us, is that obviously there's the stress of being caught and everything else, but in return she's getting vaccinated for rabies, and we're going to treat these parasites that she's got, these ticks and the internal parasites as well, so it's only fair, isn't it?
Right. We try and obviously do an incision as small as possible.
Yeah.
So that we don't have too much to close.
Mm-hmm. The plan is to insert the radio tracking device into the hyena's abdominal cavity. So this is the implant. This is basically, instead of a radio collar, instead of strapping something to the outside, we can pop this inside her abdomen. Now it looks big, but actually compared to what this hyena can eat, this is tiny, and it doesn't weigh anything at all. It's got all the electronics that it needs to basically keep sending out a signal so Natasha can find this hyena for the years to come. I place the implant through the small incision that Doe has made. There we go, that's lovely.
Perfect.
Very good. Just a few small stitches and the whole procedure is over in a matter of minutes.
We're done,
Do you want me to grab those blood samples then?
Yes, do that.
Okay. Blood samples are taken and the superficial grazes on the hyena's face are treated.
You want us to keep the needle?
They're so like a dog, but they're not a dog. And the size of these front legs, these are from a Great Dane and these are from a Labrador.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can actually put the two next to each other.
Just doesn't look right, does it?
No.
After less than 15 minutes, the hyena is ready to be released back into the bush. Last thing to do is reverse part of the sedative that we've given it. So this is the antidote to that. So we just pop that into the muscle. And she's got a very muscly neck. Rub that in. And we've just got to basically back off and wait for her to come round. Might be another sort of 5-10 minutes.
I'm very happy with the way the operation went, and she's looking good now. She's about to really wake up.
It's a big responsibility to sort of to do all of this. What you've done, very complicated work out here in the middle of the bush. I'm amazed.
To us, an animal like this is so vital and so important because people like Natasha can follow them and tell us. We learn every day, and I think that's the nicest thing about nature and being in a place like this is we learn so much, and you know, makes you very humble in a way.
A few moments later, the hyena comes round, none the worse for wear. From this point on, the reserve's wildlife team will get to know this hyena intimately. And the more species they can radio track, the easier it will be to build up an accurate picture of this special animal kingdom. Here in Namibia's spectacular Central Highlands, I've been given a unique opportunity to witness the lives of the Orendi Reserve's wild inhabitants. This incredible wilderness is a place of extremes. During the wet season, the rains move in with a force and speed it's hard to imagine until you've experienced it. This weather's fine if you're a water buck. It's not great for us though. The rains saturate the land, turning the desert into a lush wilderness almost overnight. It's here in the flooded central plains that some seasonal residents have begun breeding. And wildlife expert Natasha Dvornin wants a closer look.
Our quota here is between about 350, if we're lucky we'll get 400 millimetres of rain. We're sitting over 400 millimetres already, and we are 2 weeks into our rain season. So it's phenomenal.
Across the park, the undergrowth is alive with a variety of rare frogs which appear in the wet season, each one making a distinctive call to attract a mate.
What we've got is a 2-3 second trill. That's the banded rubber frog. So he goes. What we can hear, but further in the distance, we're not very close to one, over the trill, that would be a banded rubber frog, is the bubbling casinas, which in the distance are going bloop, bloop. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what I call the owl method. We want to try and work out exactly where the frog is sitting. Now, an owl's face is designed like a parabolic dish, so he can have the sound reflecting off his face, and he's really lucky because one ear's up, one ear's down, one's forward and one's backwards, so he can triangulate the sound. It's not so easy for us. So with our hands.
Mimicking an owl, Natasha tries to pinpoint the sound.
In fact, I think the closest one is possibly just in the set of bushes here. No way, but that's amazing.
Natasha's located a rarely seen banded rubber frog.
That is absolutely amazing. If I could tell you The last time, apart from this season, that I saw a banded grabber frog is probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and I have never seen one call. We sit patiently like this if we're lucky enough to find one for hours at a time. And to have a little frog, frogs have personalities, I've decided. To have a frog brave enough to call right here while we've got the branches open and having a look at, I think is pretty amazing.
The rains may benefit the frogs, but the park has become covered with dense vegetation, making some animals extremely difficult to track down. In an undisclosed location in the centre of the park, where the bush is at its thickest, the rarest of all the reserve's introduced animals can be found. The black rhino is one of the most endangered big mammals on Earth, with only around 4,000 surviving across the whole of Africa. The tricky task of monitoring this elusive species is the responsibility of guide GP Brits. GP's camera traps not only help him locate the rhinos, they've recently recorded stunning images of them at one particular mud wallow. These magnificent beasts are still poached for their horns, which are prized in many cultures. And this reserve is one of a small number of safe havens in Africa for this critically endangered species. So going tracking with GP is a huge privilege. So you've got white and black rhino here in the reserve?
Yes, we've got both species.
Numbers, roughly?
Yes, due to the poaching in South Africa, we're unfortunately not allowed to give out numbers.
Oh, okay.
Especially our black rhinos.
Ah, right. Okay, so it's no secret that you've got them.
No, it's no secret we've got them, but yes.
You keep their numbers a secret.
Yes.
So how many people know?
How many people know how many rhinos is on there?
Yeah. The guides must have a rough idea.
I think there's about 3 guides at the moment that's got a rough idea.
Oh wow, okay, so it's a really well-kept secret.
It's a well-kept secret.
Where are we going to start?
We know of a spot up by the mountains where the rhinos like to hang out this time of year. We're going to head up there and see if we can find any fresh signs, fresh tracks. Maybe be lucky enough to even spot one.
Very good, that sounds great. God, this is a busy old spot, isn't it?
Yeah, this is quite a nice spot, especially because it's in a thicket.
Yeah.
A lot of shy animals will try to use this. For example, the black rhinos often will come and use this for a wallowing spot. Okay, so what we have here is a nice body imprint. And as we can see, it looks like its head is over here. With the imprint. It almost looks like a rhino's horns.
Yeah.
Over here, with the bottom edge and the ear up here. And of course, the backside and the bum on the back there. You can see very heavy on the hindquarters, rolling in the mud.
So I know that this looks exactly like you would get with pigs, and I know they wallow. But what's the reason for rhino wallowing in holes like this?
Usually the species with fewer hairs, much tougher skin, elephants do it, rhinos as well as warthogs.
Okay.
And they then will use this, rubbing in the mud or rolling in it. The mud will cover the skin, and then they will use a rubbing post to rub off the mud, which takes the external parasites with the mud.
Right, okay. So it's round here, that's what's caused the damage to these trees, is it?
Yes, all of this. If you look at this tree as well, this is one of the main rubbing posts here.
Caked with mud, aren't they? Yeah.
And you can see up till how high the mud is rubbed off, even onto those branches.
Is this the height of its back or a horn or...?
Yeah, this is most likely its horn and its head height. If you pick up pieces of mud that's been rubbed off, you might see some parasites in there. There's one tick over here.
Is it? Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the smallest or smaller ones that you can find on them. Sometimes you find nice blue ticks on them. That's about
full of blood. Yeah,
centimeter and a half, 2 centimeters.
We know we're getting closer, but there's one big problem. All this green growth is hiding what is quite a large and very dangerous animal. None of them are radio collared in the reserve at all, so we can't find them with radio telemetry, so it's old-fashioned tracking skills, which GP is excellent at. I'm hoping he's okay, because I'm not going in to get him if he isn't.
No, I climbed there up in a tree, but the bush is so thick you can't really see much.
It's disappointing news, but GP's well-developed instincts tell him that there are black rhino close by. But if they're startled, they'll often charge, so I remain in the vehicle, leaving GP to go in on foot. Then just 20 meters away, we catch a glimpse of a huge bull. It goes to show we were in the right spot, just when I thought we were never going to see a black rhino. Do you know which one he was?
Yes, this is a bull that I have identified before. I call him 007.
Okay.
Just because he's always there where you do not expect him. And he only acts two ways. Either run or he charge.
No,
So-
he will charge a vehicle? Or
Yes,
just, yeah, a whole
definitely.
vehicle? Okay.
Depends on what his mood is.
Right, okay. So thankfully he was in the running away mood.
Yes.
So obviously there are other rhino here that are a bit more relaxed, that we could potentially get more of a view of, but at least we've got to see one.
See one is... No, there is a cow and a calf here that we've seen the tracks from before. She's very, very relaxed. If we manage to find her, it would be awesome. And there's also another young bull that I call Shadow, because the first time we saw him, he came and fed in the shadow of the vehicle at about 2-3 meters from the vehicle. So if we can find him, it will be a double bonus.
Yeah, but that's a great start. And that was the last we saw of 007, who just melted away into the bush. The next time we caught up with the park's rhinos was a few nights later. When one appeared late at night down at a waterhole in the centre of the park. It's impossible not to be moved by these prehistoric-looking creatures. Not only because of their size, but because of their history. Over the years, thousands of rhino have been slaughtered, and it's only because of projects like this that they're still in existence today. Orendi Reserve in Namibia's Central Highlands, a stunning wilderness, home to some of Africa's most amazing animals. But this remarkable land of bush, grassland and rocky hills was once very different. 15 years ago, nearly all that you can see behind me was farmland. But now it's being transformed into a haven for African wildlife. I'm Steve Leonard, and I'm here in Namibia to follow the incredible story of a place that's been returned to the wild. This week,
Okay, girl.
an aggressive encounter with a protective mother.
Oh, there's the calf. You see, there's the calves.
Yeah. And I meet a spotted hyena and her cub battling for survival.
The lions hate the hyenas.
It's the middle of the wet season in Namibia. The last few days have seen violent storms moving in swiftly and suddenly. But what I didn't count on is being here during the wettest year in a century.
It's impossible to work in this, but it's brilliant for wildlife.
However, despite the torrential rain, the temperature remains extremely hot. Then, a break in the bad weather gives me the chance to head out with guide Ulrich Opperman to check on 2 vulnerable spotted hyenas. The rain has made a massive difference to the greenery, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's never rained this much.
It's crazy that you haven't been able to drive in here for at least, was it 2 weeks now?
Yeah, 2 weeks, yeah.
So all of the animals in here, you've not seen for 2 weeks, you've no idea what's happened.
Yeah.
Spotty, a hyena and her cub, live in a burrow just a kilometre from park headquarters. And because the rest of her clan have been killed by lions, they live alone. Hyena get really bad press. They're often portrayed as something sinister or a villain. But actually, they're a top predator. They're really interesting. And they're vulnerable, too, to attack from lions. Hyenas are largely nocturnal. They're renowned as scavengers, picking up leftovers from other predators' kills. They're so well adapted to this role, they can eat and digest virtually every part of an animal, including its bones. But they're also top predators, and that brings them into direct competition with the big cats, especially lions. As a result, they often fall victim to them. Many of the park's hyenas have been killed this way. And living alone, Spotty and her cub would stand little chance of surviving an attack from a lion pride. So the team constantly monitor her den. As we drive up to Spotty's burrow, we can see her cub, but there's no sign of Spotty. So we've heard the cub. We know that the cub's okay. Where do you think Mum is?
We heard the distress call that the cub made, so meaning that the mom is not there.
So she'll only do that if she's looking for Mum.
Yeah.
Okay. Female hyenas will leave their young for a week at a time when they hunt, but without her to protect it, this youngster is very exposed. When the cub disappears from view, Ully takes me for a closer look at the den site, which unusually Spotty and her cub share with a family of warthogs. This is absolutely amazing that there are warthog and hyena living so close to each other. Because if I'm correct, this is quite obviously warthog skulls.
Warthog skulls, yeah.
So the hyena are actually predating on warthogs, yet they live right next to each other.
Yet they live right next to each other.
Have you heard of that before?
This is very unusual.
That's very strange. You know, you wouldn't, given the fact there's probably plenty of holes to choose. So how many hyena did there used to be here?
There used to be 2 females, 1 male, and 2 cubs.
Okay.
They were all killed by a lion.
So the lions came in and pretty much wiped them out, except for just Spotty.
Yeah, except for Spotty and the small one.
It's amazing that always, it always reminds me of sort of rival gangs with the big predators.
Yeah.
The lions hate the hyenas. They'll kill them, but they won't eat them, will they?
No, they won't eat them, just to decrease the number.
Spotty's got herself in a real pickle. She's on her own, surrounded by lions that really don't want her to be here. It's like gang warfare. She's still got a cub to look after. She's got her work cut out for herself. Although Orendi covers almost 300 square miles, it's actually home to only 24 lions. And the pride responsible for killing the rest of Spotty's clan live in a territory very close by. Warren Court has been following these lions for more than a year. Unusually for a male, the pride's leader, Fugitive, is an extremely good hunter who catches most of the pride's food. It's normally the females who make most of the kills.
It looks like earlier this morning or late last night they managed to catch an oryx. It looked like an adult. When we first arrived it was a little difficult to tell because a lot of the skin was gone. When he picked it up and moved it into the thicker bush, we were able to see the horns, which clearly gave away that it was an oryx.
Fugitive's name is a legacy of a troubled past.
When he was younger, there were two dominant male brothers that ruled the whole reserve, and they used to bully him very badly. One day they bullied him so bad that he ran to the northern boundary fence and was able to get over it. And we found him about 98 kilometers further north, and he'd killed quite a few prized cattle on his journey. Because he's deemed a cattle killer, all the farmers wanted to have him killed, but luckily we were willing to do whatever it took to keep him alive, which is why his name is Fugitive.
Fugitive has recently received a potentially debilitating injury.
You can see in his left eye it's oozing quite a bit of pus. Most likely he did come into contact with one of our spitting cobras, which is it's a 50-50 chance he's either going to lose his eye or he's going to keep his eye.
I would have to see how worse it's got, then I would talk to our ecologist and let him know that it's actually getting worse, and then we would decide to go from there if we need to call a vet or just let nature take its course.
The injury could affect his hunting, but together with his pride, he still remains a major threat to Spotty and her cub. Back at the hyena burrow, as there's still no sign of Spotty, and she hasn't been seen for several days, I'm keen to set up a camera to catch a glimpse of her. As hyenas are mostly nocturnal, an infrared camera will help me see what's going on at the den after dark. Okay, we're in business. That there is an infrared sensor. So if anything moves over there, it's going to trigger off a light and a camera here. And this has all been focused on the burrow, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get pictures of Spotty and or her cub. In the Central Highlands of Namibia, a dedicated team are attempting to build a new animal kingdom. To do this, a group of experts are up close, observing the lives of the Orendi Reserve's newly introduced wild inhabitants. But it's been the wettest year in over a century, with huge storms sweeping the park day after day. Just getting around has been almost impossible. But even these devastating downpours serve a purpose. All this rain that we've been getting here has resulted in this massive, massive growth of grass. Look, there's some rain just coming our way now. And this grass is not only just food for the animals that live here, but it's also a building material. Look at these beautiful nests here, all made of the grass, made by weaver birds. They're a bit shaggy, these ones, but they're very tidy inside. And there are lots of different species. This one is all solitary nests. Not that impressive, but wait till you see what's in a tree over here. Take a look at this. We're gonna have to be quick because that rain is coming towards us and it's like a wall of water. I should point out this isn't just one bird. This is made by a colony of birds, the sociable weaver. So another weaver species that just piles and piles and piles massive amounts of grass into the tree. So much that sometimes they can actually bring the branch down. This one here has lost clumps already, and you can see there's big lumps of the nest has fallen down. And it's not just the weavers that live in these nests. You also get other birds moving in. Sometimes birds of prey that will protect this nest from predation from other species. So it's a really complex structure, a complex society that lives here, and all because of a bit of rain. Talking of rain, I think it's time to leave. Sociable weavers build the largest nest of any birds, with colonies often numbering around 100 pairs. But although they're common in the southern Kalahari, they don't occur anywhere else in Africa, because the stiff grass that they need to build their nests from only occurs in this region. This year is likely to be a perfect breeding year, as the rains are set to continue. Grass for nest building and food will be in abundant supply. And when the reserve's small waterholes turn into vast lakes, it's a time when the park's elephants can simply enjoy the flooded landscape. All elephants love water, and these adolescent males can't resist some spontaneous fun. Whether it's a change in season or any other major event, animal behaviour can be severely affected. Whenever you move an animal into a new area, that's bound to change its behaviour. But when you couple that with really social animals like elephants that have very complex relationships with other elephants and members of their own family, that's bound to cause a few headaches, not only for the elephants, but also the team that are managing them. Just 2 weeks ago, I visited two of the reserve's troublesome bull elephants called Stompy and Tui, with guide Rodney Hall.
Okay, get into the vehicle. Please be quiet, do not move.
When we approached, the bulls turned on us.
Shh, just be very quiet.
Because these bull elephants have been known to charge vehicles, it's something Rodney can't afford to let happen in a reserve that gets much of its funding from tourism.
Aye.
So today we're back again on the park's southern edge in an attempt to get these reluctant elephants to accept our presence. Is it quite an unusual situation for a reserve like this to have young bulls like this without older bulls to keep them in check?
It's unusual, yes. These few elephants, they weren't in a breeding herd. They were actually brought from different places, like 2 from here, 3 from there, and basically put together.
Right, oh, okay. So it's really not their fault that they're all this boisterous, this sort of uncontrolled.
That's one reason. The other thing you have to bear in mind as well is that these elephants are still very young.
Yeah. Suddenly, a large female appears, and Rodney is immediately on the alert. This female has a calf, and we can't afford to get too close.
We're just going to turn the vehicle around for safety reasons.
Here we go.
You see that? What you did with her head now?
Yeah.
She's not happy.
Yeah.
We're going to give her space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's most probably because she has that young calf with her as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll see she's going to stop right there.
Yeah.
You see, that's the...
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, girl.
I know.
Okay, girl.
Yeah, you've said your piece.
She still keeps that distance.
Yeah.
And
Head
this is
goes down a
basically
bit.
you're too close to my baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just see what she does. Are you happy now?
Oh, there's the calf.
You see, there's the calf.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
You see?
That's beautiful. Oh, they are very young as well, look. Mother elephants defend their calves aggressively. Eventually, the mother and calf move off, and we can breathe again. Next morning, I return to the hyena den, where we've been recording the night's activities. And I'm hoping to catch a glimpse of Spotty, the young cub's mother. Nighttime in Africa is busy. Many animals are at their most active after resting during the heat of the day. And predators, large and small, hunt for prey. It's a time when Spotty and her cub are at their most vulnerable. On our den camera, there's no sign of Spotty or her cub. Then finally, the cub appears. He's just mooching around. No sign of mum. Doesn't stray very far from the den, I noticed, so still feeling quite vulnerable, no doubt. Yeah, there's no sign of mum at the moment. This cub is still totally dependent on her mum. She's not going out to hunt with Spotty yet, stays at the den, so Spotty must be coming back and still feeding her. Because it's not unusual for mother hyenas to leave their cubs alone while they hunt, and the cub appears healthy, I'm convinced there's nothing sinister about Spotty's extended absence. That's brilliant. Sure enough, when I go back just a day later, I finally see Spotty and her cub together again. This caring mother is showing remarkable resilience to bring up her young cub in the face of so much danger, especially on her own. But this young cub's life still hangs in the balance. Only time will tell if this youngster will survive and take its place by its mother out in this remarkable animal kingdom. "300 square miles of wilderness in the heart of Africa. An animal kingdom that is home to a stunning array of wildlife. This land is slowly being returned to the wild after years of destructive hunting and farming. I'm Steve Leonard, and I'm here at the Orendi Game Reserve in Namibia, following the incredible story of a place that's been given back to its wild animals. This week, I meet one of the reserve's smallest but most deadly residents. This guy is going to be potentially lethal, and I go on a rescue mission for a lost lion.
So he might be able to see us. That's why he might not have responded.
You're basically saying he's looking at us.
Yes, that's what I'm basically saying.
That doesn't make me feel any better. Here in Namibia, I've been given a fantastic opportunity to study just how a game reserve works. From the top predators to the smallest creatures, every animal in this park plays a crucial role in the natural order. What I really love about this place is the variety here. The terrains are so varied. You've got these rocky outcrops that are great for your leopards and your baboons and such. And then all this greenery, the trees, the grass, good for your elephants, your black rhino. But it's also room for the little things as well. An ecosystem is about insects, it's about reptiles, and there is so much here to see. A healthy ecosystem relies on many animal species. At Orendi's heart are its smallest inhabitants, some of which come in exotic shapes and sizes. These insects provide food for all kinds of small carnivores. One of the reserve's more unusual insect predators is the outlandish-looking bat-eared fox, which uses its huge ears to locate its prey. But even for this well-adapted hunter, there's always prey that keeps one step ahead. Camouflage can be a perfect way to survive. Small or large, every animal is adapted to protect itself and survive. It's not only the big animals you've got to worry about, some of the smaller ones too can pack a pretty potent punch, and this is a great example. This is one of the local scorpions, and as a rule of thumb, if they've got small pincers and a fat tail, they rely more on their venom than they do their claws. So that generally means that this guy, who's got a big fat tail, is going to be potentially lethal. Not to me. Generally, there isn't a scorpion alive on the planet that can kill somebody my size who's fit and well, but say a child or somebody who's old and infirm, this could finish them off. If he stings me, it's just going to hurt like fury. It's going to be really, really painful. So I'll try not to threaten him in any way. At the moment, he's just looking for somewhere to burrow and hide. And I'm assuming it's him, but I can't tell. And the good thing about any venomous creature is that they don't like wasting it. It's quite hard to make, and it means that they'll only use it as a last resort. We found this guy around our camp, so he could have given somebody a nasty shock if he crawled into a boot or he got into your bedding. So we've taken him out here into the wild, and we'll find him a more suitable place to live. I'll be sorry to see him go because I really do love scorpions, but this is a more apt place for him to be. I'm sweating a little bit because you never quite know whether they will sting you, but he's been very well behaved. So we'll pop him down on there and he'll just burrow away underneath this log. Be happy as Larry, hopefully. It's only a place as vast as this reserve that can support such a huge variety of animals. But some of its species require large territories in which to hunt. So hundreds of miles of electric fence keep these predators away from cattle ranches surrounding the park. At the top of the food chain are the reserve's lions. 24 in total, these powerful hunters keep the numbers of game animals like wildebeest in check. But to a lion, there's often no difference between the park's game animals and the livestock outside the fence. they're all fair game. If these cats were to get out of the reserve, the wildlife capture team would need to spring into action. And just 3 days ago, that's just what happened. A male lion called Goldie broke through the fence line on its northern edge, a worst-case scenario for the park. We're in quite a large enclosure here looking for Goldie, a lion, one of two brothers that unfortunately got the wrong side of the wire. He was outside the reserve, so had to be captured and brought back down here. Just checking on how he's doing, if we can find him in this bush. Although Goldie's safe, his brother Shadow is now trying to escape because he thinks Goldie's outside the fence. If he does, his life's in danger. Oh, there he is over there. Goldie's been free in the reserve for 2 years, and it's the first time this wild lion has been kept in an enclosure and lived alone. It's really sad because Goldie, since birth, has been with Shadow, his brother. It's quite common for male lions to team up because out there in the big bad world, they've got to see off other big, dominant males in the area. He doesn't know where his brother is. The last thing he remembers probably is being outside the wrong side of the fence. But if we can find Shadow and bring him back, then it's going to be a pretty happy reunion, I think. Goldie is going to be the key to catching his brother. That night, the team come up with a plan that exploits one of the lion's most distinctive features: its voice. On a still night, the chilling sound of a male lion can travel for several miles. A lion roars to make his presence felt and to warn off other males near his territory. But they also have a special contact call, which is as individual as a human voice. And that's how other Pride members are able to find each other. With this in mind, the team have come up with an ingenious idea to use a recording of Goldie's call to lure his brother back to the heart of the reserve. At first light, the team undertake a massive search for Shadow. First task is to pick up a signal from his radio collar. But he's out of range. For the rest of the day, the team make an exhaustive ground search.
Yeah, it's definitely become quite overgrown. There's a lot of drainage lines along here. That might be worth checking.
Lost in a vast area of dense bush, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. As dusk falls, an aerial survey is a last resort. And Shadow's finally located right against the perimeter fence on the park's northern boundary. Now the team can put their plan into action. The Orendi Reserve is surrounded by hundreds of miles of fence to keep its predators away from the cattle outside the park. But one male lion called Shadow is trying to break out, and we're on his trail. Earlier this evening, we located him, and now we want to lure him away from the fence by playing him a recording of his brother's voice. We're still trying to reunite the two lion brothers that have been separated. We've got Goldie back at camp and we've got Shadow out here in the bush somewhere, currently about 400 metres that way. Now, GP has actually recorded the contact call. These are the calls that they make when they're lost, when they've lost each other, and he's recorded Goldie's and is now going to play that to Shadow and see if we can bring Shadow into us. This has never been done before, as far as we know, with using brothers' individual calls to play to each other. So we don't know what's going to happen. But if he does come steaming in, we should be in the vehicle. How are we doing?
We're fine. I'm just putting the last few bits here together.
Excellent.
And then we'll see if he responds or even if he might want to follow us.
Oh, good. Okay.
So,
neither Guide GP or I know what will happen next. After half an hour, there's no response from Shadow. Then amazingly, GP picks up a signal from his radio collar.
okay, he is quite close. He is coming closer. Yes, he's moving closer. He is responding. When we started off, he was about 400 meters. He is just a little bit behind us at the moment, about 150, maybe 200 meters at max.
The call seems to be working, but in the failing light, it's impossible to see Shadow. So we move in the direction of his radio signal. We know he's near to us. We just can't spot him. The scary thing with lions is they can be totally silent.
He's definitely closing in on us. He's quite close.
Okay.
So
keep our eyes peeled. So he'll definitely recognise his brother's call. He'll recognise it as his brother, do you think?
Yes, of course he will, because they are like us almost, like humans. They do recognise each other's calls.
I'm just amazed that he hasn't shouted back, which is making me kind of nervous, because then I'd know where he is.
He's close enough to be able to see us already, so he might be able to see us. That's why he might not have responded. He's just maybe a bit skittish of us being in the presence.
You're basically saying he's looking at us.
Yes, that's what I'm basically saying.
That doesn't make me feel any better. The sound of Goldie's call attracts scavengers. Then suddenly, in the pitch dark, Shadow emerges from the bush. He obviously thinks that's his brother. He's still very shy of the car, so he's not coming very close. But it is working. It's one thing to see Shadow, but it's quite another to catch him, so we call in the reinforcements. Joined by game manager Ruan Klurter and wildlife expert Natasha Dvorinin, the plan is to dart Shadow with a sedative and reunite him with Goldie. Okay, I think this is our last chance at trying to get Shadow. He's very, very nervous, so the plan is to stake out some bait, which we have done over there at the foot of a tree. If he comes close enough, Ruan's going to dart him. This is a problem with male lions. Occasionally they'll want to roam and they'll end up the wrong side of the fence. And outside of this reserve is basically farmland, so the only thing that he's really going to run into is conflict with people. Now that the bait's been laid, the team move into position. He's so nervous of the vehicles that we're going to have to be very quiet and just hope that he comes close enough for Ruin to get a clear shot. Ruin carefully prepares the correct amount of sedative in the dart. He'll only get one shot. If he misses, Shadow might never get close enough again. He fires. But the dart is just inches short and Shadow disappears back towards the perimeter fence.
Drop right in front of him. Yeah. Are you sure?
That is gutting. I don't think we're going to see him now for, well, I don't know. He's obviously took off like a bullet after that dart nearly got him. He didn't even take the bait. I don't know if we'll ever get close to him now. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have to come up with a different plan because this isn't going to work. Even though he is radio collared, he's going to be very difficult to get back. Losing one of the reserve's male lions would be a devastating blow. With less than 30 lions in the park, Shadow's a valuable top predator. And they need every single one to keep the growing number of game animals under control. For Natasha and the team, the search will go on. But 4 weeks later, Shadow's still at large.
What's happened is we've lost a bit of trust with the one male. It's just the way circumstances have gone, and it's not going to be very easy to just pop up there in the next day or so and be able to dart him and reunite him with his brother, which is what we were all hoping was going to happen very, very quickly. We've gotten to a point now where we have to build his trust again. It's going to take potentially the next few weeks, if not the next few months, for us to rebuild that relationship with that male lion in order to reunite him with his brother. It's not going to happen as we thought, but it's going to happen.
Goldie will remain in the small enclosure for the time being, and if his brother continues to evade capture, he will have to learn to survive on his own. Although Goldie and Shadow being separated is a tragedy, in the south of the park, one lion pride is flourishing. With plenty of game to hunt, this group of lions are able to support and sustain 3 healthy cubs. But their mother has her work cut out to keep these youngsters under control. Play fights are feisty affairs and are crucial to create a well-bonded family. No matter how boisterous her cubs get, she puts up with their play. Until it's time to show them who's boss. Cubs like these are the future and a sign that the park is in good health. Hopefully, there'll be another chance to reunite Shadow with his brother. And once again, they'll roam free with the rest of the lions in this incredible animal kingdom.